Welcome to YouTooSpain, broadcasting live on YouTube. On today's show, I'll be talking with our very good friend Lucia Melgarejo all about money and different kinds of tax and investments. So join us on the live chat over there or down there, or if you're watching the video back afterwards, in the comments below the video. There will be loads of handy information and lively chat for you from beginning to end. So stick around for the whole thing. You're all very welcome to YouTooSpain. Still alive? Let's dance. Groovy baby. Right then, just before we get chatting, don't forget to sign up for free to the monthly newsletter from our website, YouTooSpain.com. It's on the screen most of the time there, and that's due out on the 1st of the month. So get subscribing right now if you want the 1st of May one. And also enjoy a free account and advice from our lovely friends at Smart Currency Exchange, whom I highly recommend for when you're moving or buying a house here. Use the link below to get in touch with them. That helps YouTooSpain out at no extra cost to you. It's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. And also you can find my Linktree link, which is always the first link underneath the videos, which has got all of the contact information and everything you need to know about me in YouTooSpain. There we go. Now, so without further ado, let's meet my wonderful guest today. It is our friend Lucia. Hola, Lucia.
Hola, good morning. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. And you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Brilliant. Well, let's just have a quick hello to people on the live chat. I've noticed we've got a few joiners already. Kev the Argonaut left a message below, which has not appeared on the chat, but he's not able to join us today, but he says hello to everyone. And Robbo says, morning, everyone. He's now officially retired. Yes, well done, mate. Congratulations. Paul Jarvis Beasley, good to be here. Adam Farmelo, hello again. Yes, I'm keeping well, thank you very much. And Alicante Explorer and Steffi, all of the regulars are joining us. That's wonderful news. So for them and for people who've not met you before, you've been on a few shows before, so I think the regulars know you, but for the newbies, tell us briefly about you and what you do.
Well, so I'm financial advisor. I know it's not the exciting job to be talking about, but of course it's needed and necessary. I work for Blacktower Financial Management and been doing what I do for the past 20 years. That's all I know how to do. I started off working for private banking for 10 years, and then after that I decided to move to work internationally with expats coming to live in Spain.
Brilliant. And you can speak quite a few languages, can't you? So that's very handy for clients.
Yes, I do. I love languages and I love to communicate with people. So that's why I try to learn at least, a few words. That's nice to say.
Brilliant. Yes. You can move a little bit closer if you want. That's you've dropped down a little bit. That's much better. There we go. Our heads are the same size. We look normal now. So an important question I think that people need answering is why is it important to check that your financial advisor is properly qualified?
That's something that has been going around, on various conversations, fortunately, with people that are looking or had in the past financial advisors, and they had issues with them. So of course it's always good to check and important to check that regulations, you are registered under the appropriate regulator in the country where you go to live or where you are officially living. So, for example, Blacktower, just to give you all a brief type of regulations that we have, we are licensed by Cyprus. So we have Insurance Company Central Service license. We have Cyprus Securities Exchange of Commission registration as well. So that allow Blacktower and myself, of course, to be able to advise people throughout the European Union. We are also registered under the FCA in the UK, also in Gibraltar. in Australia, in Cayman Islands, in Dubai. That was the latest that we managed to get, because of course it's very complicated to get through the whole process. So you need to comply with everything. And myself personally, I am European Financial Advisor qualified. So I took the exam back in 2008. And it's something that you need to renew on an annual basis. You need to demonstrate that you haven't had any criminal record, that you didn't have any issues with the court, and also, of course, to certify that you have been studying during the whole year to comply with the regulations. So it's very important. Please do check whenever you are talking to somebody that is registered, and the information is always public. So you can check online. So it's nothing complicated to find out. You just type, for example, Blacktower licenses, and it comes up with all the registrations number. The same as myself, of course.
Brilliant. That's very good to know. Okay, so we're talking primarily about tax today. So let's start with a refresher question. We always cover this when we're talking about tax, but especially for the new watchers or anyone who's forgotten, when do you become a tax resident or fiscal resident in Spain?
There is not a letter that you receive or any phone call that you receive from the taxman, unfortunately or fortunately, but of course it's something that's very important to understand. So here we have that our tax year in Spain is from 1st of January till the end of December, that's 31st of December. So as long as you spend over 183 days in the country, you automatically become tax resident. So no temporary absences are considered. So if you come a month in January, then a couple of months later on, then another 4 months, you have to file your taxes. So please be sure that at least you know that you are spending over or below those days, so we know what we need to do.
Yes, and that also includes once you've become resident here. Every day from when you become resident till the end of the year, even if you go on holiday out of Spain, they're all included in the 183 days.
Exactly. Also, if you have your family living here and for some reason you are traveling around because of work, your nucleus family is based in Spain, your kids go to school, or that's also a condition to become tax resident, to be liable for taxes. So please make sure that you do check before coming to live in Spain how that works and whether you would be automatically classed as tax resident or not.
Yeah, is there another one as well if your primary business is in Spain but you don't necessarily live here?
Correct.
How does that work?
If your nucleus of a main activity is based in Spain and you live, I don't know, outside of Spain, anywhere, then you are classed as tax resident as well. So that's
yes.
important again. Mm-hmm.
They get you whichever way they can, don't they?
Of course. And as I said to you, you never receive a phone call or a letter from the tax authority saying, hey, you just received the fine or the bill saying that's what you owe us. Because it's easy to check, your income or your any capital gains that you may have, or any with your use of banking with your credit card. It's easy that they can access that information if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Okay, let's move on to what we've called non-resident taxes now. What are the tax obligations if, for example, you're buying a holiday home in Spain?
As a non-resident, you need to file taxes if, as you said, for example, you buy a property in Spain. Again, there is no a deadline for certain dates. It's just to be filed during the year. So the deadline would be, for example, the 31st of December for this year. And you will need to file that you own a property in Spain because you are non-resident. So that is considered as a second property that you have because you may have another your main residency somewhere else. So that gets taxed, and that's looked for, that is based on the cadastral value of the property. So please make sure that you submit that form, which is form 216. We call them by numbers. So that's the one that you will need to file if you have a property, or if you have investments, for example, here in Spain. You also, and your gain is, you have gains, sorry. You also need to file another form, which is called 210.
Good
for
to know, yes.
non-residents.
Yeah, and those forms are called modelos. For those people
Modelo.
looking for them, you'll need to search for them online under the word modelo. So yes, and I think on our website I have a complete list of all of the, a lot of the modelos, actually not a lot of the tax forms, but all of the EX ones, which are all kind of visas and residency ones, aren't they? Yeah. Okay then. So it's every taxman's golden time of year at the moment. Right now, it's time for the annual tax returns. And I've got my Hestor Antonio on in a few weeks. He'll no doubt be going into some depth about that. But in the meantime, why don't you give us a few tips on what we need to know?
Of course. So then for when you become tax resident, there are certain forms that we need, modelos, that we need to complete as well. So now, as you said correctly, it's a very busy time for accountants. I'm not an accountant myself. I'm not a gestor. The thing is that, of course, I need to base my advice on taxes. So I'm trying here to help people to reduce taxes as much as possible and be tax efficient. So and they are certain vehicles that we can use for investments, for example, that we can go into bonds and so on, so we can minimize them. So the modelos that we need to complete now, for example, this time in the year, during the year, from May till 1st of May till the end of June. So this year is till the 1st of July because of the weekends or something like that. So it's a bit longer. Don't leave it till last minute, please, because it's complicated to get to have a gestor for that. So get everything arranged on time. And that is called Modelo 100. That is for our annual tax returns, where we need to declare any income that we had for previous years, for 2023 in that case. We need to be declaring that this year. So somebody is obliged to do Modelo 100 whenever you earn over 22,000 euros. Okay, so then is when you have the obligations to do that. Not everybody has to do that, but of course it's always good to check. You might get some money back that you paid already previous year, or probably you need to pay an extra amount when you are obliged. So good to know. Then we need to do this year, and which is very important, in Andalusia, which is the south of Spain, it goes by regions, some of the taxes. In this case, is the wealth tax, Modelo called number 714. And that is a Modelo that has been reintroduced this year by the Andalusian tax authorities because it came after a new tax that they implemented last year for high net worth people. So the Andalusian tax authority said, okay, so we are going to be reintroducing that. So anybody that has a wealth over 2 million has the obligation to do that taxes, to fill that Modelo 714. Taxes go in between, it varies again, as I said, by regions, but it varies in between 0.2% and 3%. So that's more or less the tax fund that we have. And of course, we do have reductions and allowances. For example, for main property, main residency per person, 300,000 euros allowance. And for investments or pensions or anything that we own, and insurance, then anything over 700,000 euros per person. Okay, so if anybody has over 2 million and anything over those two allowances, then we do have to do Modelo 714, which is Impuesto del Patrimonio, wealth tax.
Is that the same in all of the different regions, autonomous communities?
It's the same, but the news for this year in Andalusia is that they have reintroduced that. Okay, they stopped it at some point in the past. So for, I believe, a couple of years, of course, your gestor will be able to clarify that better than myself. But again, for this year, it's very important that we know that we need to do that if we are in Andalusia, because last year, for example, we didn't need to file it. Okay. Then for briefly, just to talk about capital gains tax, that we do declare them within the Modelo 100, which is the annual tax returns. But just to give you a brief idea of the rates that we currently have, it goes from 19% up to 28%, and it goes by scales. So if we have made less than 6,000 euros as from an investment, for example, we do pay 19%, which is the minimum. If we have made over 300,000 euros, then we need to pay the 28%, which is the maximum rate, and it varies. So it goes, as I said, as in between scales.
Mm-hmm. Great.
On here, sorry, just to add something, on the capital gains tax, that's where I help clients to be minimizing them via some type of investments and vehicles, so we can reduce or even not pay capital gains tax, for example. So that's one of the ideas.
Mm-hmm. Which fits in with a question that I think it's David Tunmer has. He says, good morning, Skatz, you're looking well, thank you very much. Can't move over until July because of tax. Got to stay in sunny Britain. So I'm presuming that's to do with capital gains tax. So maybe, Lucia, you could describe how to avoid that tax by when you move in.
Of course. So thank you, David, for the question. And yes, July, you mentioned July because of the 183 days, I understand. So after the month of July, if you haven't been in Spain, then as long as you come, you won't be classed as tax resident here. So that will start following year. For example, that happens if somebody is selling the property, the main residency, back home. Of course, you may have some either capital gains reductions or no even capital gains tax for selling the main home while you are tax resident in another country. So it's good to do that, everything, and get all arranged prior to the move to Spain. Because of course, if you come, for example, this time of the year and you have just sold your property, let's say January, February, you will be liable for capital gains tax here in Spain as well as in your country. So it's not that we double charge people, it's that we tax you on in the way that we have our taxes here in Spain. So if you, for example, back home, you have 10% capital gains tax, and here you would be liable for 28%, then the extra 18 would be added to your capital gains tax here in Spain if you are tax resident, as I said. Yeah. Okay, so there are double taxation treaties in between the majority of the country. So of course, it's not that you pay twice, it's that you add on the top or not if you have any capital gains, for example. The same happens with pensions. If you have private pensions back home and you do have tax reliefs, like you do in the UK, 25% tax relief, or tax-free lump sum, sorry. So it's better just to arrange everything prior to the move while you are resident in your home country. And then when you move to Spain, then just to enjoy the money in sunny Spain.
Yes, because if you take your lump sum afterwards when you're a tax resident, you'll be taxed on it.
Correct. And that is income tax, which goes from 19% to 47%. So it's pretty much half of the money gone. And I, unfortunately, again, I did have a couple of cases that people didn't know. And of course, having taken the tax-free lump sum back home, then it got taxed here. They receive a letter saying you owe me 42%, I think it was.
Wow.
So please get financial advice prior to the move always.
Yeah, absolutely. Can save you an awful lot of money. Okay, so Tony Brown will come to your question in a second. But Paul Jarvis Beasley, this was about what we were talking about a few moments ago. Just to check, is the €2 million allowance per person, and does it include your primary residence in Spain?
Everything is 2 million per person. So any allowance that we get here in Spain is always per person, even if you're married or living together, is per person. So it's individually. Okay, then for main residency, the same. The allowance is 300,000 that we take off the calculation for taxes, as I said, from 0.2% up to 3%, roughly speaking. And then, of course, as I said, per person, individually. So a married couple will be 4 million. For main residency, 600,000 in euros. Please consider that is in euros everything when you come to Spain. So any limit is to do with euros. And for general investment for a married couple will be 1.4 million euros.
Excellent. Okay, and that includes kind of all of your assets, doesn't it? Which is why he's asking about primary residence as well as any cash in the bank.
Correct.
Great. I hope that answers your question fully there, Paul. And Tony's question was, do non-lucrative visa retirees have to complete a yearly tax return?
As soon as you become tax resident in Spain, sorry, better to correct and to point that out, tax resident in Spain, meaning by that you have spent over 183 days, then you have to file your tax returns. If you are paying taxes back home for any reason, such as having a property that is rented out, or any company that you have, any business that you run elsewhere, then anything would be offsetted as long as we have a double taxation agreement in place, which, as I said, most of the countries have a double taxation agreement with Spain. So any tax that you paid already back home, it will be offset.
So the basic answer to the question is yes.
Yes.
I mean, if you've got just pension income coming through, it's still a good idea to complete an annual tax return, just for the sake of that you've got that on your record, even if you're not going to pay any tax.
Correct.
Great. And Steffi has a question. If you have a holiday home in Spain but don't rent it out, what taxes do you have to pay annually other than the local payments for bins, etc.?
Yeah, you need to do the Modelo 216, as I said, which is the Impuesto de la Renta de No Residentes, so it's a non-resident tax, and you need to file that by the end of the year, each year, if you are non-resident, other than, of course, any local tax, town hall taxes, and so on.
Yeah, so what are the taxes, what generally are the sort of amounts of taxes that you'd pay annually for a holiday home property?
It is based on the catastral value, as I said, so the value that the local town hall has given to your property. So it's not what you paid for. So usually those amounts are lower than what you have paid for the property. So it is around a couple of €100 a year, and again, is individually, is per person. So if you bought the property jointly, then you need to file that one of you, and that's it. So it's the Modelo 216, as I said.
Brilliant. Hope that answers everything for you, Steffi. That sounded very clear to me. I've got brain fog most of the time, but I'm following this very well. So thank you, Lucia. Let's see. I normally go to the halfway point in about 5 minutes. So maybe any other sort of latest news that we cover? I don't want to get onto all of these graphs and charts about deposit rates and fund performances yet. We'll do that after the halfway stage. But any latest news about maybe interest rates and inflation? Do we go to that now?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Interest rates, as we all know, have been quite high. So for people that, of course, are paying a mortgage, it's been a bit complicated those months. But predictions are that rates will be coming down sooner rather than later during this current year. So currently, rates for within the European Union, we have 4.5%, and it's predicted that by June it would be reduced on 0.25%. In order to decide when or to reduce or not interest rates is just to control inflation. So that is linked all together. So just to run through the main interest rates, for example, we have in the UK, we have 5.25% of rates. In the US, we have 5.33. and of course, again, that is predicted to start to get reduced during this year because of inflation. Again, within the EU, inflation is 2.6%. Last year, this time it was 8.3%, so it has been taken under control. UK inflation, for example, is 3.20 currently. Last year, this time it was 10%. So again, it shows that an increase in interest rates have made the effect, what they were looking for. And in the US, it was 3.5%, and previous year was 6.5%. Mm-hmm. So it is something that, of course, is getting reduced from the inflation point of view, although the cost of living, yes, it is still a bit high. That's why they haven't reduced rates yet. So please enjoy your deposits in the bank while in that, because it will get reduced very, very soon.
Yeah, and that is quite healthy for economies that inflation's gone down quite a lot.
The inflation target in the European Union is 2%, and in most of the countries, I mean. It's something that, of course, with that 2%, we can kind of live comfortably, and we do understand that every year everything has to increase because that's how it is. But of course, everything under control, and previous years we didn't have that because of the war that we know and things that happened in the past, unfortunately.
Yeah. Spain's GDP has been doing quite well recently. I saw a news item saying it's better than the rest of Europe put together. So that's really good. You wouldn't have expected that a number of years ago when, Spain and Greece were the two countries who were suddenly in great debt and having to borrow so much money from Europe. So it's good to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good that everything is coming and starting to be under control. So as normal.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so we'll go to the halfway point now, and any questions we've got in the live chat we'll leave until after that. So let's have a quick message then from me and my alter egos, all of the voices in my head, about the wonderful things available to you as YouTooSpain fans. So take it away, boys. Are you getting the most out of YouTooSpain? I don't know. Did you know that apart from these Saturday morning live shows with expert guests, or expats with really exciting stories to tell, it's like the Graham Norton show. Bah! There are videos every Wednesday evening, packed with all the information you need, so we can move to Spain and enjoy living here without paying tax. No, Colonel, that's illegal. But you can find out how to navigate the bureaucracy successfully. Well said, Walter. How do I find the videos? Just subscribe to the YouTube channel, darling. And click on the bell, you useless Colonel. There's a playlist here called Video Diaries. Oh, now that is Skatz's thrilling personal story about his life and health in Spain. Still alive! Hashtag FOF. You can support YouTooSpain as well, my darlings, if you think you've learned something valuable, or if you've been entertained. Skatz looks like he needs your support. The poor bugger can't even stand up. If he was a horse, I'd shoot him. Colonel! He's not a very nice man. It's all right. He's just a two-dimensional stereotype. Aren't we all, sweetie? I'm not. Brexit! Moving on! So how do we support YouTooSpain? Use the QR code in the corner. Or there's a link in the video description below. I can't find it anywhere, darling. In the video description, you idiot. I've warned you, Colonel. I'll send you back to the nunnery. While you're watching or pausing, below the video, you'll see the title. Just here. Oh, I see it. Not far below that, there's a description of what the video is all about. It says, read more. That's right. Just click or tap on that and lots more text appears. What's the information all about? There's contact information for the expert guests and lots of links to other related companies that I recommend. And they help out YouTooSpain if you use those links to get in touch with them. There's so much down below.
Does anyone have a pen?
No need, Tommy. You can find everything on our website.
YouTooSpain.com.
And don't forget the Facebook page.
And the YouTooSpain community group.
Where you can talk to other people like you.
There's no one like me, sweetie.
Thank goodness.
Is that everything? There's a guest waiting to tell me things.
Oh, I do like things.
Where's Doogie Dog? That used to be his line. I'm stuck behind a wall.
Oh, sorry, Doogie. I'll come and find you after the show.
Thank you, master.
Get back to the show. I need to go and punch some servants.
Oh, Colonel. Back to Skatz in the studio.
Thank you very much. Skatz, Walter, Dick, Tommy, Colonel and Doogie Dog behind the wall. I'm stuck behind a wall. So if you have any questions for them, especially for Doogie, ask in the comments. And we don't have any specific questions from Facebook that we haven't already answered. So let's get back to the live chat. Let's see, what do we have there? No Expectations. That's a great name. Is that your real name? We are coming in on the non-lucrative visa and we'll be living off money that our business owes us. So it's a director's loan account on which the tax was already paid in the UK. I assume there is no further tax in Spain? ?
Yes, that would be correct, because if that's already money that has been taxed back home in the UK, then that's paid for money, and you would be using that on your own leisure. So any money, for example, or any interest that you get paid from your bank account or any deposit that you may have, of course, is when capital gains tax would be applied to that money. But if the money is in a bank account or not any interest, then of course no further taxes. Well done.
Right. That's very good news for you, isn't it? That's excellent. So, Paul has another question. We are tax resident in Spain, in Mallorca, since last year. Is my wife's NHS pension pot considered an asset for wealth tax purposes, or is it exempt?
Exempt.
Exempt.
It is exempt. Any pension pot that you have is not considered on wealth tax. But of course, if you are in payment, in receipt of that income, then is when you need to declare, or probably you need to check, better to say, whether you are obliged to submit your tax returns here in Spain due to the level of the amount. Okay. So please check with the gestor.
Great. Jed Tierney has a question. If someone buys a holiday home in Spain, would a will in the UK suffice if someone should die, or would a Spanish will be necessary? I would have both personally. What do you think? Correct.
It's always good to have anything arranged in the country where you have an asset or where you live, because our bureaucracy, as you may know already, Scatz, is very, we like to not to be straightforward, better to say. So better to have a will in Spain that is going to be written in both languages, in English and in Spanish. And of course, you can choose as well the jurisdiction of your home country to be applied to your Spanish will, which in the UK is very good. So you can nominate spouse to spouse or to anyone, whereas here in Spain, we cannot. So if you are a married couple with kids, it has to go most of the amount or wealth to kids. So if you like to arrange that as it is in the UK, please do arrange a Spanish will. Always good to have. It doesn't cost much. It's just to go to the notary. Please remember, it's not like in the UK or in other countries. You have to go to the notary to make it official. Okay, so, and they submit an electronic copy to the central registration in Madrid. And for some reason, if you lose the document, the paperwork, it is registered there. So you just go to the notary and then request a copy, and they will be able to provide that to you. That's something that I arrange for my clients as well. So if you are local living in south of Spain, in Malaga area, then happy to arrange that for you.
Brilliant. And something else that I was talking to Chris from Upsticks about, it's really useful if you're living in this country as a couple. And when you make your will, it's also a good idea to make a power of attorney for each of you, so that if one of you dies, the other one is able to contact,
carry on,
and unlock bank accounts and all that kind of thing, because otherwise your deceased partners, everything to do with them will be sort of frozen for a time, and you won't be able to access them. So yeah, very handy to know that one. Okay, next question. Steffi says, in the UK, some independent financial advisors charge for advice only when you buy products with them, and some charge a standalone fee. How do the Spanish ones work with fees and charges? Is it the same?
It's similar. We can select how to charge our clients, and of course, it's always in agreement. The way that we mostly work is from any product provider. They pay the introductory fee to Blacktower, and the client just pays exactly the same. So if you have, for example, a 1% annual management charge within certain product, Prudential bond or Spanish collective investment bond, from that 1% that you pay to the provider is from where we will get the fee. So it's nothing on the top of that.
Great. Okay, thanks for that question, Steffi. It's very useful to know. All right then, so I've got all of these graphs on my screens to display about current deposit rates and fund performances. So talk us through these briefly. This is where I'm completely out of my depth. So I challenge you to get me excited about all of this. Good luck with that.
No worries, because I sent that to you the other day, and of course they are graphs that do change on a daily basis. I do have in front of me, that's why I'm looking elsewhere instead of to the screen, in case I need to tell or somebody wants to know exactly or in more depth something else. So that's absolutely fine. I have them prepared here as well. Just before we go into those exciting graphs for myself, I'd like to add something in regards to taxes, if I may, because I over spoke about that. So it's called Modelo 720, which is very important. So I did make a note during the mid-show advert in order to, at least to mention that briefly. That is a modelo that has to be completed once you are tax resident, of course, in Spain. Deadline for that is the 31st of March. Okay, so it's already gone. That's why I didn't have that on my initial notes. But of course, it's something that is good to know. We need to declare any assets that we have outside of Spain that are worth over 50,000 euros. Okay, the value of those assets would be the value that is being given on the 31st of December. So just to try to simplify a bit what I just said, for next year, for 2025, we will need to submit the Modelo 720 for any bank accounts, for example, that are over 50,000 euros on the date 31st of December. Of course, it doesn't count if you do a transfer the day before, because they look back three months at least, the average amount that you have. So it's either the 31st of December or the average amount that you had for the previous 3 months. That has to be reported. It's no tax to pay. Just again to clarify that, no tax to pay is just to inform the tax authorities that we have either a bank account or a property or a pension pot that we have the access to because we have that age. For example, in the UK would be 55, here in Spain 65 or 67. So anything to do with that over 50,000 euros, please remember to submit your Modelo 720 before the end of March 2025 for following year. This year it's already gone, but of course, if you haven't done it, just get in touch with your gestor or accountant and get it done, please.
Excellent. There's a quick question about.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, it's all right. It needed saying. How does Spain deal with tax on cryptocurrency gains? In the UK, it's done as a capital gains tax. Is that the same in Spain, and what are the rates?
Exactly the same. Capital gains tax, because it's an investment that you have. And of course, if you make any gain on that, that has to go on capital gains tax or on our annual tax return, which is Modelo 100. Now is the time to do that. And for crypto, a very good question here. It goes together also with my parenthesis that I did for 720, the Modelo. There is a new Modelo this year, 721, for cryptos specifically. So if you held cryptos outside of Spain, which is what you usually have, or happens, then you need to submit Modelo 721 specifically for cryptocurrencies before the end of March every year. Okay, so this year is already gone. Again, if you didn't know, there is a good faith that you're showing that you didn't know and you are submitting that in April, no problem. But please remember that is something that you need to do. And coming back again to the specific question and be just summarizing, yes, capital gains tax at the rate from 19% up to 28%, depending on how much you earn, you gain.
Great. Right. Time for the graphs then. Should I just fire them up one at a time?
Of course, just go for it.
And see what happens. Let's
Surprise
see.
me.
Yeah, I'll leave the market roundup one till last. So this is iShares MSCI versus other.
Good. So it's better if we show a current graph. So here we have, of course, I can talk through that. Here we have the rates, the returns that they have made for the past 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, and current month. Okay, so if you show me, please, the iShares MSCI World graph.
But yeah, let's just have a search for that one.
And then I can talk through because I have it open, as I said. So that information I got sent to you, Skatz, that was on Wednesday afternoon, I believe. And of course, lively, because it does go lively. Then is something similar, but a bit different. So just to be precise or accurate on that. Perfect. So that's the graph. Can you show that a bit up? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's my screen that I cannot see. That's fine. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So here we have. I wanted to talk through type of investments that we do with clients. Of course, that always go according to risk profile that we need to complete and run through various questions in order to know whether that would be something good for the client or not. Mm. In this case, I selected the major indices that we use for some of the investments, and here we have the MSCI World, which is the major one of the major indices for that considered 23 that includes around 1,500 companies throughout 23 developed countries, not developed markets countries. Mm-hmm. So here we can see that average it has done for 1 year. So if we look today, or in this case, on Wednesday, back 1 year, how much it has done. So it's done 22%. That's why I also sent to you the other information underneath, because of course everything looks now very good. And looking also at the graph, we can see that on certain dates or certain points, we did have a correction and volatility. We always have volatility. Volatility means that if something happens around the world, like unfortunately the wars that we are having at the moment. So whenever that happened, every market got affected. So it's very difficult to be away with any type of investment unless you have, of course, money in your current account. It doesn't get affected, of course, but then money that is invested, just so you know that anything that happened around the globe, like here we can see for 2020 when the COVID started, then of course a couple of years ago when the Ukrainian and Russia war started, and then also in October when Israel war started. So it's to consider. here how that performs. Of course, they are top countries, developed countries, which have less volatility, but again, there is always volatility in place. So just to go through the other figures that you showed, Ellie, before that graph.
Yeah. Shall I bring them up again? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, if you could. I was looking also at the one the latest one.
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So it's always good to look back, not only 1 year or the past 3 months or the past 6 months, because everything could look very good or very bad. So it's always good to consider that an index or a fund has a previous history. In that case, of course, the Financial Times, which is the page from where I took that information from, is a public information. Again, with any fund or any investment that you go to, there is a public information on the internet. So please do look on the proper websites like Financial Times, as I said, or Morningstar. That's another page that gives you 100% information, clear and trustworthy information. So here we have on that index, which is one of the major ones, that for the past 5 years it has done nearly 10%. That means that on an average every year, so if you invested the money 5 years ago, now you would have had 10% on an annual basis. Okay. And again, just to give you, you can show another graph, Skatz, if you want, so I can talk through how we advise or why would I recommend this type of investment or this type of fund to any client. So that would be for a medium to long-term plan. Okay, for somebody that says to me, Lucia, I have 300,000 or 100,000 sat in the bank, I haven't been earning anything because, I didn't do anything myself, or I've forgotten, or not, for any reason, but I'm going to use that money in order to buy a property in Spain, or in order to buy or to invest the money into a second property, a holiday home, or any reason. Of course, if you are planning to use that money in the short term, of course, don't get into the market, or usually I don't advise to get into the market. Why? Because from one day to the other, we can have another war, or we can have an increase on interest rates for whatever reason, or increase on the oil price, and that will affect immediately your investment. So make sure, please, that when you talk to your financial advisor, you make sure that the time horizon that you have for your investment is adequate to your needs. Okay? So going to the next one, sorry, can you tell me the name? Because on my screen, for some reason, I'm unable to see that.
Oh, yeah, this is the FTSE 100.
Thank you very much. So, FTSE 100, we all know about that. So those are the top 100 companies within the UK, and that's how it's been performing. Of course, it has this specific index have got very affected due to Brexit. I won't go into that. It's not the hot topic today, and won't go into that. So it got affected again. So that's why here on the screen, the return for 1 year is around 3%. So if you want to show as well, Scatz, the return, the lines with the total returns for the past 1 year or 3 years. So we can see that, of course, although it has done around 3% only, which is very low, I have to say, for the UK. But again, it's because certain specific reasons that happened at the time. Here we can see, of course, and there is always a comparison because between the index itself and an average of components to compare to, so we can see how good or how bad that that fund is doing compared to the general information. So here we have that looking back 5 years. If I would have invested the money 5 years ago, I would have done around 5%. Then for the past 3 years, 8%. For the past year, 5%. Sorry, the 5%. And that's, this is, the FTSE. Yeah, I was looking just to make sure that I'm talking through the correct one.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
right.
another major index that we recommend in case somebody wants to have a diversification, because here we are talking about security, that your money is safe, that you want to diversify because you have already deposits, you have properties, you have various things already in place, and you would like, of course, to have something else to diversify, not to have all the eggs into the same basket. Never. All the time to have different indices, different type of investments, such as property, such as bond or deposits. So that's to refresh or to give you a brief idea. Also another index that I use when recommending clients. If you want to move on to the next one, please, Kat.
Yeah, I think let's go on to the Vanguard graph. I'll
Yes.
put that one up.
And that's one of the, also that's the major index in the US that covers the top 500 companies. And that's how that is being done. Again, is to repeat myself on the same matter. What happened in 2020 with COVID did affect the index. What happened on the war between Ukraine and Russia in 2022, it did affect. Whenever we had an increase on interest rates, it got affected, simply because if I'm able to get 5% on a bank account, on a deposit, of course I will go to get that 5% from a bank account instead of going into the markets where we have volatility. So it does get affected whenever something major, of course, but it does recover because those indices are based on top companies from each individual country. So here is the top 500 companies in states. Then, as we have seen, the top 100 companies in the UK, within the European Union, top 1,500 companies within countries throughout the European Union. If you want to show Scatz the percentage, so we can mention that. So it has done for 1 year change, it has around 25% increase, which is very good. Everything has been slowly getting back to normal since the end of the year, and now it's recovering a bit faster because of predictions of reductions on interest rates. So here we can see, as I mentioned briefly before, if you would have had the money invested for the past 5 years, that's 15%, and so on. So I wouldn't go into much detail. If somebody of you want to have a discussion on or more specific on something, please feel free to send either a message here, and I will, because it's my computer next to me, and I will go straight away onto that. Let's go on to one of the funds as well, the Fundsmith that I sent to you as well, because it's a fund that I do enjoy using, because the performance has been great, and it's a fund. It's not based on an index specifically. It's a fund which means that it's based on a component of various companies, and it's a multi-asset. It's a multi-asset fund, which means that it has investments everywhere. Okay, so it's very diversified. That means that it's a multi-asset, and also it's actively managed. What does it mean? It means that the fund manager, which is the one that is in front of the computer all day, with the team, of course, not only one person is behind that, is looking on a daily basis what is happening, predictions, where to invest, and which one to take out. For example, when the war in Russia happened, of course, they were proactive on disinvesting any money that had invested into Russia or something linked to Russia or Ukraine, in order to not to have that massively impact on their performance. If you want to show their performance, please, Kat, and we finish up with those funds.
Great. Is that the one that's titled 12-month performance?
No, it's not that one. Or I can just mention on that graph that you just showed for Fundsmith. The 1 year performance roughly has been 9%. Thank you very much, and apologies for driving you crazy.
That's all right.
So it's been around 9%. again, as I said, it varies on a daily basis, every minute. If you go to the Financial Times in the morning and then you go in the afternoon, of course, it's going to show something different. So it's live. Again, for the past 5 years, what I have on my screen here, if you would have that fund invested 5 years ago, it would have been around 9%, 5% for the past 3 years, or 10% in 1 year. So that's average of what I can tell you here. Just to mention as well, before we move on to the deposits, that we do advise clients to keep the same currency if they wanted to. So if somebody is coming from the UK, that's why I showed, because most of my clients are from the UK and I'm used to work with, with pounds. We keep pounds unless you tell me otherwise. So Lucia, no. I like to convert that into euros because I think now the exchange rate is very good. I've gone through smart currencies here, and they said to me that yes, you can exchange the money and it will be in euros. Perfect. Everything is available in euros as well as US dollar. It's a multi-currency advice, what we provide. So there is no link to any of them, or it's not a better gain or a highest commission or a lowest commission. It's exactly the same. Okay, just to let you know that we can either convert that into euros, or we can even have both currencies together. So we can go for the fund in euros and in pounds, or any other combination.
Brilliant.
Okay.
We've got, just to let the people know, that on the live chat, we'll come to your questions as soon as we've finished those graphs. There's 3 questions there. So
it's only one more document to show, and I'm done. Not to bore you all with my excitement. So I'm very excited. I'm passionate about funds. That's what I love doing, to be looking for different type of investments, to analyze them, and how that's my job. Apart from telling you about all the taxes and everything.
Fantastic. So do you want to see, is it the market roundup one that you want to see?
The night hedge, which is the rates for deposits that we currently have.
I don't seem to have that one on my screen. I've got 12-month performance and I've got multi-year guaranteed fixed annuities.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Brilliant.
That's the one. Thank you.
There it is.
Perfect. Okay. Those rates are for deposits. That is linked to what predictions are for interest rates. Okay, because as I already mentioned before, predictions are that rates are going to be coming down. Of course, the companies adjust their deposits or the guarantee, because they are guaranteed for certain terms. So here on the screen, you can see for 3 years or for 5 years, deposits in pounds would be 4.55 or 4.65. For euros, 2.90 or 3.10. And for dollar, Canadian or US dollars, it would be 4.25 or 4.40. As soon as I received those rates myself, I could see, of course, that is imminent, the reduction on interest rates on the market. So from the central banks, So we can fix now and guarantee ourselves with a fixed return for the following 5 years, which is very good, on certain amount that you decide to do. That will be available for minimum amount is 25,000, and then from that amount is how it started, and you can guarantee yourself, as I said, for the following 3 years or 5 years, those rates, which are good. But it showed me, because it used to be, and some of my clients or people that have come to me or contacted via your show will notice that it used to be 5.10, 5.16 for pounds, and now we can see a bit of a difference on the rate. So whenever you think that is something that would apply to you, please do let me know, and then we can cover the information, the rest of the information, of course, because it's not only that.
Yeah.
And that's me for now. That's me.
Excellent.
Ready to receive any questions.
Well done. I'm still awake and still smiling. So you've done a very good job there. Let's see. Paul Jarvis Beasley. Let's do your question first. Thank you so much, Lucia and Skatz. Really informative session. One last question, if there is time, and there is. As Spanish residents, what is the most tax efficient way to sell our UK property?
Being Spanish tax resident, I understand.
Yeah.
that being already a tax resident in Spain, the way of reducing the taxes is a bit complicated, simply because, of course, you will be liable for tax here in Spain for capital gains tax. I know that in the UK you have reductions or even close to non-capital gains tax when you sell your property. But here we do have reductions in Spain, but that would be that you are selling one property, your main residency, to reinvest the money into your new main residency. So you are changing main residency. And as long as you reinvest the money in full into the new property, there will be no capital gains tax. If you are selling your property but located in Spain, not in the UK, located in Spain, you are selling your property and you are over the age of 65, you have no capital gains tax as well. But unfortunately, I'm afraid, Paul, is very, very little that you can do about that. Better to talk again, that changes not every day, but we again like to get everything changed and not to have the good understanding for people. So it's always good to talk to your gestor and accountant for that before doing anything, just to double check in case they just release an allowance. There is none at the moment, but probably after, towards the end of the year, probably they release an allowance on that. So always good to double check with financial advisor and your accountant and gestor. I work very closely with all of them because it's important that we do know what is in place now. What I'm telling. I'm telling you the general information about the modelos, about the taxes, rates, and so on. But of course, specifically, always, please do checks with your gestor. I do have a gestor myself, just to let you know, although I understand the system and I know how to do it, but I'd rather have a gestor that is taking care of my taxes because they know and are on the top of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's worth looking at this if you've not moved to Spain yet and you're planning on selling your UK property. Either do it in advance if you can, or don't buy your house in Spain until you've sold the UK one. If you're selling it when you're a tax resident in Spain. So if you're planning ahead that way. Have you already bought your house, Paul, or are you renting? Would be good to know. So, Bridget has a question. If we retire to our current Spanish holiday home, we need to state the retirement age, that's useful, and we then want to sell our holiday home to move somewhere else in Spain, is there a tax exemption or reduction on the sale?
If that becomes your main residency, as I mentioned before, because you are living in your holiday home, but you are tax residents now, and you are selling that property in order to reinvest the money or to buy another one, then of course there would be no capital gains tax on the profit, simply because you are using that money because you wanted to move from Galicia to Andalusia region, for example, or Madrid. It doesn't really matter, or even within the same province, it doesn't apply any difference here. So, and then again, if you are over the age of 65, then you have no capital gains tax when selling your main residency. Main residency, please, always.
Great. Is the retirement age fixed? Is that the fixed 65? Because I know it's gradually moving up, isn't it, to 67? Yes.
For people that born, and I cannot remember the year, is 65. So I know that people older than me, because I know that I am 67. So I will retire potentially at the age of 67 if we can. But for some people born prior to 19, I don't know, is the age of 65.
Yeah, good to know. Okay, so Jed has another question. What are the various tax thresholds in Spain? There's quite a few of them. The UK generally has 0% up to £12,570. And then over 20%, it goes up to 50,270, and then over that to 40%. They say it's similar in Spain, isn't it? But
correct. That is from the latest budget in the UK, so I got that information as well myself. We are here, I have to say that in Spain, we are not that straightforward, as I mentioned, with the tax rates and tax implications and things around taxes. So I'm unable to tell you, or I can't, tell you that it's 0% and so on. So it doesn't work like that. It works completely different. We do have personal allowances when we are filing our tax returns of around 5,000. It goes by age as well. So it gets increased. The older we get, the more allowance we have, which goes up to 7,000, more or less, when we are over the age of 67, I believe. Well, your gestor in a couple of weeks will be able to point that out better than myself. But of course, we would be able to use those allowances as soon as we are filing Modelo 100. If we don't file Modelo 100, then no allowance to be used. Then obligation to declare, for example, to do the Modelo 100. When do we need to do the Modelo 100? It would be because we are working or we are receiving an income from pension, for example. We are drawing or taking an income from our private pension in our home country, and that income is over 15,000 euros. So then I am obliged to complete tax returns, Modelo 100. When we are completing the Modelo 100, at some point along that Modelo, which has 20 whatever pages, we will be selecting based on our, it gets selected automatically because you enter your date of birth, and it tells you exactly the allowance that is going to be considered. So that's how it works. I hope that I answer your question. So we are not, to summarize, in Spain, we are not that straightforward as you are in the UK. So it's a bit more complicated, but if you have had an income over 15,000 euros for the previous year, then you are obliged to do your tax returns for the following year.
That's normally one of our best catchphrases on this show is "it depends," but actually, when it comes to tax, it's complicated. I think it's more appropriate. I think. Yeah.
And it is. So it's something that, and then the rate. Sorry, probably just to point that out here next to the question from Jet. It is 19% up to 47.5%. It depends on the region where you live, again. But that is the bracket, 1947.
Great. And no expectations has a very good question. I'll say in advance of this, Lucia's contact details are in the video description below. But the question is, where is Lucia based and how much for an initial discussion? She is very knowledgeable. She is, yes.
Thank you very much. I am based physically in Marbella myself. Our office is in Mijas, in Malaga. But of course, now I'm more than used to, and we all are, to do online meetings. So we either do Zoom, Meet, Skype, Facebook, WhatsApp, you name it. So no issue whatsoever on setting up something like that. And I have to say that most of the time, initial consultations are online because you are still in your home country. So I would love to be flying to each one of you, but of course, because of time and cost, it's not efficient. So online would be, it is how we do the initial consultation. We don't charge for the initial consultation. I think I missed that to mention right at the beginning. I need to understand your situation in order to be able to advise you. There are certain times where clients or the person has already everything in place, everything is fine, and it's just to double check that everything is okay and in good order. So I do that as well, and there is no charge for that because, again, I need to understand your situation and your needs. Okay?
Great. So Paul is saying thank you for your answer to his previous question about the most tax efficient way to sell their UK properties. So he says we've already bought our house here in Spain. We're considering moving back to, this is interesting, we're considering moving back to the UK for a year so that our house there is our primary residence when we sell it, but we will take advice.
Yeah, I do have a couple of cases where clients went back to UK in order to sell because it was at a big profit, and it was going to be very unfortunate that that person had to pay 28% on capital gains tax. So it's a quarter, over a quarter, nearly a third of your gain to go into the taxman. So he would be very happy, but he would be completely upset. So yes, I have had a couple of clients that had to go back to UK, arrange everything, be a certain time there, and then coming back. Yes, so I'm used to that situation. So again, if you need anything, please just let me know. Get in touch. No worries.
Brilliant. Jed says, can't wait to get out to Malaga. I'll be taking the fast train to Madrid to see Picasso's Guernica. Bucket list wish. Absolutely, yes.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. I am originally from Granada, but I've been living in Malaga for the past 20 years. So I started working for private banking in Malaga Center, in Calle Larios, which is beautiful. And I spent the 10 years of my working life, which was very, very nice.
Excellent. Good. So any more questions? David Gerardo was saying greetings from Malaga. Greetings. I've been going down there rather a lot recently, and I still love it. Still, I think it's my favourite city. But I don't know. I've not visited them all yet. So there we go. If anyone has any more live chat questions before we close the show for today, then ask them now very quickly. There's about a 20-second delay before they appear on my screen. So while we're waiting for those questions to come in, if there are any, let me just remind you that if you have any more questions or comments after we go off the air, put them, in the YouTube comments below, not on some random Facebook expat group where not everybody can see them. It's very useful if you put them under this YouTube video, so that everybody benefits from your question and the answers, and you'll get all of the answers and help you need for free. It's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. I didn't mention that before. And don't forget, of course, to smash the like button, which is somewhere down there at that end of the screen, and subscribe and click on the bell if you haven't already, so you'll be the first to know what's coming up each week on the live shows and midweek videos. And also don't forget that I'm moving over the video diaries and any music that I put out. I'm moving it away from the YouTooSpain channel so we can focus on moving to Spain and living in Spain on this channel. I'm moving everything over to the Skatzman channel, which is all of the personal stuff and the video diaries, of course, and my cancer journey. So please do find the link to that below this video and subscribe to that channel as well, so you can continue to follow the story. And let's see, have we had any more questions? No more questions, just people saying thank you, very informative. So
you're very welcome. Sometimes I cannot give a general answer and a specific answer to the questions, because again, I need to understand each specific individual situation in order for me to be able to tell X, Y, or Z. So taxes are the same percentages for everybody, but remember that there are ways to reduce that and can be used. So just get proper advice to before doing anything. Better ask the questions before you regret.
Brilliant. Jed has a final question that he's just managed to get in there. Is private healthcare tax deductible in Spain?
Okay, if you are working for a company, you are employed, or you are a pensioner, no. If you are self-employed, yes. Up to 1,500 euros per annum can be deducted from your taxes as a self-employed person. Okay, but and remember that the policyholder has to be yourself, and you can include any family member. Great.
David Gerardo says, got here a bit late. Well, that's no problem, David, because this live show immediately becomes a video, so anybody can go back to the very start and watch. And within a few hours, normally, or within an hour this morning, probably all of the chapter headings will be along the bottom of the screen on the video, so you can see what we've been talking about all the way through and click to any particular question that you have and find the answer very easily, so you can actually scroll through the video, so you don't have to watch the whole hour and 15 minutes. There you go, which is always very handy. And other people are saying thank you. Paul, Steffi and Alicante Explorer. I can never remember your names, sorry, Alicante Explorer. You've told me so many times and I keep asking, but brain fog today. Anyway, so that is all of the questions. And before we find out what exciting guest I have on next week's show, let's all say a huge thank you to Lucia and give her a massive virtual hug and a kiss. And thank you so much. We'll see you again in the very near future, I'm sure.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Bye for now. Okay, so, Mr. Lower Largo has a question. Let's see if I can answer this question for you. Actually, Lucia is still there. Can I bring you back on screen, Lucia? There we go. There you are. So, Mr. Lower Largo says, I'm living in Spain on my NLV, still have a house in Scotland, 2 properties here in Spain. I'm over 65. I just sold last year 1 property. Am I liable for capital gains tax?
Which one is your main property would be my question here. If the one you have sold was your main property, your main residency, then no capital gains tax will apply. But if it's a second home, then unfortunately, yes.
There you go. Hope that answers that one. And let's see. David Gerardo. It's great, fantastic. Well, I returned from Stoke-on-Trent in 2019. I'm originally from Spain, but it is interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay then. So, goodbye again, Lucy.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Okay. So on next week's show, as usual, every fortnight we have our best mate Chris from Upsticks, and we'll be chatting about any updates and news and all of the stuff you need to know about visas and residency, and maybe bringing your car over as well. I'm not sure. We've talked about what subject we're going to do, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So what I'll do is I'll announce it on our Facebook group and the Facebook page, and probably on my own personal page as well. So have your questions ready, or just prepare yourself for a lovely chat next week. In the meantime, of course, you can ask questions on the Facebook page, the Facebook group, or under any of the videos. And thanks to everybody who's joined us on the live chat, and to everybody who's watching us on the video afterwards. Any time over the next few years, this video will be on the air as long as it's still relevant. And thanks for hitting the like button, and for buying meacoffee.com using the QR code at the top, or the link that's down below. If you look on my link tree there, all of the ways of donating are on there. And I'll see you either on the midweek video or on the video diary on Fridays on the Scatsman channel, or live on Saturday mornings right here at a regular time of 9 o'clock if you're in the UK or Ireland or Portugal or the Canary Islands, or 10 o'clock if you're in our much larger Central European zone or Spain. So that's all for this week. Somebody pass around the tax cookies. Peace and love. Peas and fluff, and thank you. There's a few people hovering over the QR code right now and making donations. Keep on doing that. And here's one final message from everybody here at YouTooSpain and all the voices inside my head. Bye for now.
Goodbye. Toodaloo.
Peace and love.
Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
One more cosmic dance?
All right then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing.
Oh, I'm all a quiver.
Let's dance.